Okay, let's talk about a book that you've probably seen a million times. Maybe it's even on your shelf right now, The Little Prince. You know the one. You remember the cute drawings, right? The snake that looks like a hat, the little blonde boy asking for a sheep. It's a story we all feel like we know, but what if I told you we've all been missing the real story this whole time?
So let's just start with the most basic question. Why did the little prince actually pack up and leave his tiny planet? The easy answer is, for adventure, to go explore the universe. But that's not really it. That's just the surface story. The real reason is so much more complicated and honestly, a lot more human.
Because this book, it's not the sweet little fairy tale you remember. Nope. When you really get into it, it's actually this deep, profound story about a really confusing and difficult love affair. We're talking about heartbreak, emotional manipulation, and this long, painful journey to figure out what actually matters in a relationship.
All right, so let's start peeling back the layers of this story you thought you knew so well. And our journey is going to begin right where the prince's did, on his little home, asteroid B612.
Think about the prince's daily routine. It's basically a perfect guide to taking care of your own mental health. Every single day, he has to pull up these baobab shoots. Those are like the bad thoughts, right? The little worries that, if you let them grow, can completely crack your world apart. And he also cleans his volcanoes, which is just a brilliant way of talking about managing your emotions before they, erupt. His whole existence is this quiet discipline of self-care. But this whole carefully managed, predictable life gets completely turned upside down by the arrival of one character. She's the real reason the prince's entire journey even happens, the Rose. The prince, of course, falls head over heels in love. But this relationship is just a total mess of mixed signals. On the one hand, her words, they're so demanding, so critical. But then you have her actions, or just her presence. She's stunningly beautiful, she smells amazing, and those thorns, they hint at this deep vulnerability. So the poor prince is just stuck, caught between her constant complaints and her completely captivating charm. Now, if you look at this through a modern psychological lens, you start to see a pretty clear pattern. The Rose constantly makes the prince feel like everything is his fault. When he finally works up the courage to leave, she starts coughing and makes him feel incredibly guilty as if he's the bad guy for abandoning her. This kind of behavior, making someone doubt their own reality and their own feelings, it's a form of manipulation. And the prince is just so exhausted, so confused by it all, that he feels like his only option is to run. So he takes off, and on his travels he meets this whole parade of completely bizarre grown-ups. There's a king who has no subjects, which teaches him that power is totally meaningless. He meets a vain man who just craves applause, showing him that admiration without any real connection is just empty. Then there's the businessman who's obsessed with counting and owning the stars, which proves that just possessing something doesn't give it any real value. Every single one of them is trapped in their own little world of pointless numbers. And it all leads the prince to this simple, perfect conclusion. The book is really holding up a mirror to our own world, isn't it? We meet someone new and we don't ask what brings them joy. We ask, so what do you do? We measure people by their job title or how many followers they have. The grown-ups? Yeah, they really are very, very strange.
All of this is building to the absolute turning point of the story. The prince finally lands on Earth, totally heartbroken, totally confused, and that's when he meets the one character who's going to give him the piece of wisdom he's been looking for this whole time, the fox.
This is the prince hitting rock bottom. He stumbles upon this garden with literally thousands of roses, and it just crushes him. He thought his rose, his love, was completely unique, the only one in the universe. And now he thinks she was just one of many, and that his love for her meant nothing special at all. And it's right there, in that moment of total despair, that the fox shows up. The fox gives us the single most important idea in the entire book, taming. And this is so crucial. It does not mean what we think it means. It's not about dominating something or controlling it. In the world of the Little Prince, to tame means to create ties. It's the slow, steady process of building a bond that makes one person, who was once just a stranger among millions, become the only one in the world that matters to you.
So, how do you do it? Well, the fox actually lays out the instructions. First, you create rituals. That beautiful line about coming at 4 o'clock, it's about building that sweet anticipation, the joy of looking forward to being with someone. Second, you gotta be patient. Real connection doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and consistency. And third, you have to take responsibility for the bond that you've built.
And there it is, the line that changes absolutely everything for the prince. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed.
And it's like a light bulb just goes off in his head. He suddenly gets it. Those 5,000 roses in the garden, they mean nothing to him. But his rose, she's unique. Why? Because she's the one he watered, the one he protected with a screen, the one he listened to, even when she was complaining. The time he invested in her, that's what made her special.
But this lesson isn't just for some little boy from another planet, right? The whole story is basically a prescription, a set of instructions for all of us, so-called grown-ups. First things first, we have to escape the numbers game. We are obsessed with metrics, salary, square footage, follower counts. The book is begging us to ask better questions. Instead of how much money do you make, how about what are you passionate about? We have to focus on the essential things, the things you can't put a number on. Second, we have to invest our time. Our world is all about efficiency, life hacks, optimizing everything. We want our relationships to be easy and frictionless. But the Fox teaches us that love is actually built from all the wasted time. The time you spend just sitting and talking. The time you spend forgiving each other. The time you spend waiting. That inefficient time, that's the soil where love actually grows.
And finally, this one's a tough one. The book asks us to try and reconcile with our own roses. I mean, we all have people in our lives who can be difficult, right? Whose thorns really get under our skin. But the prince's journey teaches him to look past those thorns, to see the vulnerable flower underneath, to understand that a relationship is special not because someone is perfect, but because of the time and the history you've built together.
And that brings us to the very end of the story, into what is maybe its most beautiful and powerful metaphor.
The ending of the book is famously tricky. The prince lets a snake bite him so he can leave his body behind, it's too heavy, he says, and go back to his star. So is it this beautiful spiritual journey home, or is it a tragedy? The book, very intentionally, doesn't give us the answer. Because in the end, the how he left is way less important than the why, his deep need to get back to the thing he was responsible for.
And this is the thought I really want to leave you with. Our grown-up lives can feel like a huge, empty desert sometimes. It's true. But the beauty of that desert, the beauty of our own lives, is that somewhere, hidden inside it all, there's a well. A person, a passion, something that gives everything else meaning. And the real question that the little prince leaves us with is this: what or who is the hidden well in your desert?